Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we are going to do the meditation. First, after the meditation, Venerable Sanathavihari is going to give a Dhamma talk. First, we're going to meditate, and Venerable Panyaloka is leading the meditation.
Now we are going to practice the loving kindness meditation. Now we are going to practice the loving kindness meditation. Feel relaxed. Sit wherever you wish. It could be on a chair, on your bed, against a wall. Relax your bodies. Relax your minds. Let us start practicing the loving kindness meditation by closing our eyes. We are going to dedicate this loving kindness meditation to those suffering and in fear around the world. May the evil, negativity, sickness, and death loosen their grip and happiness be restored soon in the world. With these thoughts, practice loving kindness meditation. Reflect on these loving kindness thoughts. May my mind be filled with the thoughts of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. May I be free from enmity. May I be free from ill will. May I be generous. May I be gentle. May I be relaxed. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be healthy. May my heart become soft. May my words be pleasing to others. May my actions be kind. No matter where I go in the world, in any direction, may I greet people with happiness, peace, and friendliness. May I be protected in all directions from greed, anger, aversion, hatred, jealousy, and fear. May my parents, teachers, Dharma teachers, brothers and sisters, relatives, friends, well-wishers, enemies, and every being in the universe be well, happy, and peaceful. May they be free from enmity, ill will, and grudge. May they all be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May all beings in the universe be well, happy and peaceful. With these loving kindness thoughts, practice few more minutes loving kindness meditation. When you hear the bell, open your eyes.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Venerable Panyaloka. Now it's time to start Dhamma talk. Today our speaker is Venerable Sanathavihari, the residence monks at Sarachandra Buddhist Vihara. So, Venerable, again, thank you being with us, and you can start your Dhamma talk right now. Are you there?
Yes, Bante. First off, I'm paying my respect to you, Bante. Thank you for this opportunity to give a Dhamma talk to your Sangha. And with your permission and the permission of the other monks and attendants, I'd like to give a short Dhamma talk. So today I want to talk about this recurrent theme that's been coming about, or I've realized in the last couple of months, and people have pointed out to me to explain. I haven't really explained it well, so I'm gonna attempt to probably do a better job today. Or, just a little disclaimer. It may not make sense. I'm still working on it. So the topic is Dhamma protects, or Dharma protects. So when we read the suttas, especially when we focus on like how we just practice right now, metta meditation, there's a sutta where the Buddha talks about how metta protects us from being harmed, from humans, non-humans, even from, spiritual beings and fire and weapons, which might sound a little, fantastic. But, in my own experience, I like to share some anecdotal accounts of how this has happened. And I have a couple stories that I want to share. So today I kind of want to give a Dhamma talk via personal experience. So when I first became a monk about 5 years ago, one day I was walking on Pindapada in North Hollywood, going on this normal route, one of the main streets called Vineland Street. And while I was walking down the street, I saw this, what would appear to the normal person who's lived in LA as a typical gang member, Hispanic gang member, tattooed, the white t-shirt, the pants that they kind of wear, those work pants, short hair like mine. And he just, when he gets to look at me, he just stays stuck on me and he keeps like staring me, or what we would call like mad dogging, right? Like just looking at me. And he's like, so I'm just doing my chankamana, like walking meditation with my bowl, and just walking, and we're getting, like closer and closer. And I feel like the tension building up, like there's a tension coming, there's a tension coming. And he's like walking right in front of me, so I try to like move to the side so I can walk past him, but he's not letting that happen. Like he's right in the middle of the sidewalk. And he comes up to me and he stops right in front of me. And then he looks at me right in the eyes, although I'm kind of looking down because that's the way the Buddha told us when we walk for alms rounds. His gaze pulled me up and I looked up at him. And he tells me, "You're some sort of priest or something, right?" And I said, "Yes, something like that." And within 1 second, his whole face changed. And it just dropped. It went from and his posture from this aggressive, tough guy stance to this very like vulnerable stance. And it felt like he was going to start to cry. And he told me that he was going through some stuff in his life and that life was difficult. And I said, yes, it is difficult. And so then we had a little talk. I don't want to share all his personal information. But at the end, he was like, thank you. And then he left and he continued his, like gangster walk down the street. I found that very interesting. You know, I found that very interesting how, how we think about, a person that looks like that, or that fits this sort of like stereotype, right? That they're very hard and tough and aggressive. And, although I didn't really feel that threatened by him, or I didn't feel scared, my past history or the narratives in my mind about people that look this way, was playing in my mind. Like, oh, be ready just in case anything. You don't know where this is going to lead to. But, I was really surprised at, this kind of interaction I had, because before I was a monk, when I would have these interactions with these people like this, they weren't so pleasant, they'd hit you up like, where are you from, fool? They'll say, and stuff like that, or what are you doing around here, or stuff like that. Who did you come to visit? But that wasn't my experience this time. And I was thinking, how this robe, or maybe my demeanor, or something, something about the practice of Dhamma, which kind of protected me in a sense from hostility, but also allowed for this other person to break through whatever facade they had, because he walked down the street like he was, something, but when I interacted with him, he completely changed, like a different person. So this was a very impactful moment, about like how practicing the Dhamma opens a different world up, like maybe this guy is typically an aggressive person. I don't know. Maybe he is the typical gangster, but something about what was going on with me let him open up himself. He was able to express himself differently. I don't know if he has that kind of opportunity with other people. From what he was telling me, it seemed like, no, it was only him and his partner, and basically like he had no one else in the world. So that to me is one example of like the power of Dhamma, of the practice of Dhamma, and how not only oneself is protected and benefits from the practice of Dhamma, but how others, even strangers, can benefit from it. I've never seen this person again, but I hope that those few 5 minutes that we spent, gave him an opportunity to see things differently, because that's what I try to offer him. I try to offer him a different perspective without denying anything that happened in his life, what he's going through, and what most likely happened, but just a different way to see everything happening, which I told him about impermanence and change and all those kind of things. So that was one account to me about like how Dharma empowers us and protects us and others. Then another time, which was like 2 years ago, I was in Mexico City. I went to go do a meditation retreat in Mexico City. And in front of the presidential palace, like the White House of Mexico, there's always protests going on, or there's something going on all the time, like every single day. So I was walking there to take pictures, because you travel, you take pictures. And there was a group of evangelical Christians there. And they started shouting things at me and, saying all these things. And one of them approached me, and it was a woman. And I was talking to her respectfully as I kept walking. I was like, no gracias, no gracias, like, no, thank you. And just kept going. And then the one guy in the crowd started like just shouting insults and stuff like that. And I was about to get out of there. I was walking with the layperson, and we're waiting at the red light. And while this is happening, one gentleman turns around and he tells the lady, and he tells her loud so her friends can hear in the back. Like, he said, he's trying to be nice in Spanish, leave him alone. He's trying to be respectful. Don't you get it? It's like, stop disrespecting him. And she backed off right away, and the people in the back kind of stopped saying things. And then the light turned green, and we just kept on walking. But I thought about that situation, and I was like, this person didn't know me. This gentleman didn't know me. I'm dressed like, like basically like a clown or something to them. Like he has no reason to stand up for me. He has no reason to speak out. But but to me, it felt like, that was a fruit of the practice of Dhamma. He felt, he got some vibe off of me, or, something that I wasn't there to do anything bad, and I wasn't there to bother anyone. And even though I look different and I probably don't share any of the same worldviews that he does, he still saw like, I should say something here. So for me, that was a very powerful, like experiential validation of the practice of Dhamma. Again, how it can protect you, how just embodying the Dhamma will kind of get, things to kind of work out your way. I mean, if we look at the suttas, they say like, devatas and protect the monks and people who are practicing Dhamma. So, it might be something like this. It might work also with human beings, where there you have like humans that protect you in difficult situations. So that was really another interesting situation. As I said in the beginning, I don't really have any way to explain these things, right? I'm just sharing experiences. I'm trying to work through these things. I'm trying to work these things out in my mind, about how we embody Dhamma, and how we see it, how we see the results, the pala, the vipaka, come to fruition in our very lives. And if we don't pay attention, we might dismiss it like, oh, it's just a coincidence or something like that. Or we think that, the results of our good actions or our meditation have to be something like ridiculous. Like, I don't know, there's going to be an earthquake and, angels are going to fall from the sky. But I find these moments, as I told you, with that gang member being able to open up to me, and a random stranger in Mexico City standing up for me, I find these to be the most powerful, the most supernatural moments of all, Sometimes when we practice Dhamma, as I said, we're looking for the fantastic or supernatural. And this sometimes can lead us to miss the beautiful moments in life where our karma ripens, and for some reason we dismiss it because it's not a light show, or something like fireworks. And then about 2 years ago, when I was riding the bus, as soon as I got on the bus stop right in front of the temple, there's a bus stop in North Hollywood. I got on the bus stop, and this gang member walks up to me, and I'm sitting down, and he says, "Are you Thai?" And I said, "No, I'm an American." And he's like, "You're a Buddhist monk, right?" And I said, "Yes, I'm a Buddhist monk." And he's like, "Well, I just got to let you know that, yesterday I beat up this Thai Buddhist monk." But it kind of just went over my head. Like, I thought he was joking, right? Like, doesn't seem like, what are the odds that he's going to meet a Thai Buddhist monk in North Hollywood and that he would beat him up? And so I don't know. It didn't register. It didn't click with me. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Well, I'm trying to let you know this and that." Like, he's trying to intimidate me and saying all these things, like subtly threatened me with violence or something. But I was in such a good mood that day. Like, I was having a good day. So it was just like all going like over my head. I wasn't accepting it, what he was telling me. I wasn't accepting his anger and his aggressiveness. And I was just smiling at him the whole time. And eventually he just like, "Well, I'm just letting you know, homie." And then he said the name of his gang, and he went to go sit like behind me. And like 2 bus stops later, he got off, and he kind of just looked at me, and I just like still smiling. And then he walked off. And then once I got to where I was going, I thought to myself, like, wait a minute. Like, he threatened me, and like he told me that he actually like hurt another monk in the past. Like, he was, that was a real threat. Like, I was probably in danger, and I didn't realize that I was in danger. And I think that's like part of the practice too, that, imbuing Dhamma, practicing Dhamma, having a mind of loving kindness, practicing loving kindness, kind of after a while, when it becomes like your default, it protects you from reacting in ways that people expect you to react. And when you don't give them the reaction that they're expecting, it kind of, stops the situation from happening, whatever they thought. He probably thought I was going to get scared, and that would have, fed him like, okay, I got him now. Or he probably thought I was going to get angry, and then he's like, okay, and now my excuse to start a fight. But me just smiling at him and acknowledging him and saying hello and yeah, oh, that's good. Oh yeah, he didn't know what to do. It was a response that he's not used to. And maybe, maybe his actions, maybe him threatening me was just the way he learned. He just learned how to grow up, right? Maybe he grew up in a very difficult environment, and that's just the way he knows how to manage his environment. But maybe I'm hoping, in my interaction with him being kind of confused by it opened up a window in his mind to be like, wait a minute, like not everyone behaves the same way. Like not everyone reacts the same way. I don't know if he put two and two together, because when he left, he looked a little bit confused, but that would be like my wish for him, at least to just kind of have that moment like, like I didn't get what I wanted from him. I wonder why, and if he got that, I mean, I think that was a good interaction. But to me, these little moments, again, I'll come back to it. Like these little moments to me are like where I really see the fruits of the practice. Gang members opening up to me, people threatening me, people harassing me. Sometimes I'm walking on the street on Pindapada and people scream all kinds of crazy things to me, mean things. And some of them are funny though. They try to insult you and they say something good. I laugh with them. They don't see me because they pass in the car, but I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. So it's not all bad. And then sometimes some people who are very, passionate about their beliefs, they'll follow me and until like, they get tired of following me. And, but I've noticed that at least in those moments, I don't see like any anger. I don't see any hatred towards them or anything like that. It's not until after when I start really thinking about the situations that I find myself in that I'm like, okay, yeah, like it was maybe dangerous or something like that. But I say this because I believe that this constant practice of studying suttas and practicing meditation and living according to the precepts and all the spiritual practices that we have in the Noble Eightfold Path, eventually, you just like, they become part of you. And once you start embodying them and they become part of you, you just start living that way. And when you live that way, the environment also gets transformed because we're part of the environment. Sometimes we like to think like, oh, we're humans and there's animals out there and there's the material world and we're something different. Humans are different, but we're just other organisms in the environment, and you can't really separate the environment from an organism. So I think that by embodying the Dhamma, we transform the world. Sometimes, there's some critiques of Buddhism that Buddhism's very selfish and it's all about you, and it doesn't think about others. But, the Buddha says you protect others by protecting yourself, and by protecting yourself, you protect others at the same time. So how does Dhamma protect? Well, Dhamma protects us from getting angry, from reacting, from, giving into greed and sadness and giving into anger and lashing out on the world and contaminating our minds. So Dhamma protects our minds by cultivating it, by practicing bhavana. Dhamma protects us also in the physical sense, our bodies, in that as we practice the 5 precepts and as we cultivate these wholesome states, then we're less likely to put ourselves in dangerous situations also, right? So it protects us that way too. And by practicing Dhamma also, we're healthier, because we know if you have high stress levels, if you're always angry, if you're resentful, like it's basically toxic for your body. And so Dhamma also protects you physically that way. And also by practicing Dhamma, you protect the community, because you're one less jerk in the world, right? You're one less person that's hurting others, that's stealing, that's abusing, that's lying, gossiping, that's, messing around sexually with other partners without them knowing, without their consent and stuff like that. So living the Dhamma doesn't only protect oneself, it protects the people around you and the whole world. So Dhamma really does protect, I know I shared with you some, like, what would we say, like woo-woo stories, like, oh, it's magical, Dhamma protected me, like, but Dhamma also protects in very concrete ways that don't have to be supernatural. And that's kind of what I wanted to focus on today, on how Dhamma ripens in our lives and protects us, and how Dhamma is practiced in and seen in our everyday lives. Because in the spiritual practices, we tend to lean on the transcendent or the heavenly or superpowers, and which all of that's there. There's no denying it, but we shouldn't miss the subtleties of our good karma, and we shouldn't miss the subtleties of the Dhamma. And if we pay attention enough to these subtleties and how they keep happening over and over again, that will be some sort of thing that'll let us know that our practice is working, right? Because sometimes we practice for many years, or we do meditation and we're like, nothing's happening. Like, I don't see any results. Well, that's because we tend to ignore all these little things. But if we were to see, like, I'm healthy, I have a job, like, like I have a good relationship with the people around me. I have friends, like I have all these things. If we focus on all these little blessings, we'll be able to see how Dhamma really ripens in this very life. So I know, like, this is a very disorganized talk, more than any of the other ones I've had here, but it's because I'm still trying to work through this. Because a couple of months ago, one Sri Lankan doctor, she asked me, like, well, how does Dhamma protect? And then I shared some occasions and some other ones that are more extreme, but I didn't want to tell you today because I don't want to scare anyone. And she told me, like, what's the mechanism, right? Like, what's the mechanism of how this is working? And I said, I don't know, actually. I can't give you an answer. Like, I'm not all knowing. I'm not a Buddha. I have some suspicions of how it works, like through karma and through practicing metta and all these other things, but I don't really know. So, this is just me kind of like putting things out there for everyone to think about. Just think about these things, and if something like this happens in your life, like these 3 accounts that I gave you, like, don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. It's probably a result of your practice. It's, and we should count our blessings. We should really focus on these kind of everyday interactions that we have that turn out in a way that sometimes is difficult to explain. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say today. I don't know, questions or comments about what I shared today?
Hello.
Thaddeus, right?
Yes, Thaddeus. Yeah.
Thaddeus.
Okay, I didn't know if this was working or not. I just wanted to. I really appreciate your talk very much, and also your point of view and how. I mean, I've always practiced just Zazen meditation, and one thing that I thought was really great that you just said was, which I feel in general is that the fact that you're not talking about the magic or the kind of like the aha moment or something, but I really realize, and when I'm meditating on in general, and when I'm consistent, that my quality of life feels better. Like, it feels like I remember having a conversation where he was saying that it's kind of like a mist. Instead of getting poured rain, it kind of soaks in, and it does feel like you're being protected, or you're part of other people. And I just thought it was really moving, and I just wanted to thank you for that, and I really appreciate your talk. So that's all. Really. So thank you
so much.
I guess it wasn't a question, but anyway, thank you.
No, and thank you for sharing, because sometimes we think like, oh, it happens to other people and it doesn't happen to me. But by you sharing, other people are like, no, it does happen to other people too, right? You felt protected when you were practicing, so it's validating.
Yeah, it was really great. I really appreciate it. And I didn't think, I thought your talk was very concise and you were just speaking from the heart. So I was really helpful. Thank you. So.
Thank you. I think Victor, I can't see everyone, but I see Victor.
Hi. Thank you, Bhante. It was extremely on point for me. I just took a job at the state prison in Norco, and I work with these prisoners these individuals you're talking about, and I often do metta on my way to work while I'm driving. I lead a group of a counseling group of 12 men, and it's perfect. I just really related to everything that you said, and I lived in Los Angeles for a while. I'm not afraid, by the way, when I'm in that environment. I feel very protected. I feel very secure. I go into the dorms with these men, and I'm in very close contact with them. When I was in Los Angeles for a while, I was practicing another form of Buddhism, but I always felt very safe in Los Angeles. I would be out on the streets, 11 p.m. at night, and never really. But I thank you. It was it spoke to me. I mean, I almost was in tears. I just really thank you. I'm so glad that I showed up today. Thank you. It made perfect sense to me. Thank you.
Wow, Vincent, thank you for for sharing that. Powerful. I don't know what else to say. I think now we can do Victor, and then we'll do Nick.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for such a lovely talk. It really came from the heart, and I think it reached everyone's heart too. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Nick?
Thank you, Bhante, for the Dharma talk. It was very timely. I'm hoping you can shed some light on a passage that I read this week and something I'm trying to practice. I read Luang Por Cha in Everything is Teaching Us. He wrote, "My heart is my refuge." So it's important for me to understand this and try and make it actionable. And I think it might have something to do with what you were talking about today. Every morning I take refuge in the triple gems, and I see that my taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha does protect me. I'm in a program of recovery from drugs and alcohol, and I use the refuge to help me stay sober, and I see that it works for me. Then I read Ajahn Chah, and he says, "My heart is my refuge." And I'm wondering, does that mean that I take refuge in the triple gems for a certain period of time until I've built up a foundation to where I can believe myself again or rely on myself again? Or is it, I don't know. I'm working with it in meditation, but I'd love to hear your insight, please. Thank you.
You know, I don't really see a difference between the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and heart as Ajahn Chah talks about it. I think in the beginning, it's useful for us to think of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha as like something out there, right? Like the Buddha, the image, the Buddha Rupa. And the Dhamma as like some universal force maybe, and the Sangha as everyone, all the monks in the past, present, and future, and other practitioners. But here I think we can find a very useful idea in Mahayana Buddhism, which is like Buddha nature, right? So the heart here, I think Bhante Cha is talking about like that Buddha nature, I guess. That's what we could say. That's what the heart is, the Buddha nature. And if we look at it from this kind of lens, we'll see that Buddha nature is neither like out there or neither in here. You know, it's just, it is everything, or it's, you know, it's nothing, whichever way you want to look at it. But once we look at it that way, we can, you know, we can use it however we want. We can see Buddha nature subjectively, which is like our heart, our mind, or we can see Buddha nature objectively as like the Buddha, the historical Buddha, and the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha. But I think these are just like two different ways to look at it, to look at the same thing. So I think really what you're talking about is really the same thing, just seen from different perspectives. So that would be my, you know, interpretation or understanding of what you're saying. And I think my only advice would be to, you know, just try to shift a little bit, you know, just on your on your perspective, shift as much as you seem comfortable with in seeing, like taking refuge, because we take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, but the Buddha's not here. So who are we taking refuge in, right? The Dhamma is not a thing, a person, or something that can talk to us. And the Sangha is also an abstraction of a group of people, some who are already dead, some who have awakened, right? And some who are reborn. But it's useful as a concept. You know, it's useful. It's very useful. And I think, you know, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is just an abstraction of like the heart or the mind or Buddha nature. We can say something like that. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Rick, if you have a question, you can ask. Rick.
Hi, good morning, or I guess now afternoon, I guess. Thank you for being here. I try to make every Sunday. My experience sort of follows yours and also Vincent's. Not since the pandemic I have done it, but I volunteer at county jail in Riverside to talk to the inmates about job programs and how to change their life around. When I was asked if I would like to do that, because I'm a retired teacher, and they thought I would be good at it, and I thought, oh, I would like to try that. I was pretty scared at first, going into the jail, and I would talk to up to 15 inmates at a time, and it was very intimidating at first. But I would, again, as you would say, come from that meta viewpoint, and they respected me and appreciated me to come to talk to them. And, you know, it makes me, since I've started more in earnest since I've retired the last, say, 5 years, practicing, I don't particularly practice any flavor of Buddhism, but more the ideas in general, that we tend to take on roles in society, father, brother, a job, and we live those roles. The detectives at the jail would say, these are losers, they're just going to come back. And I try to remind them, you know, to don't take that on. I've made mistakes, we all do. You're here, you're learning. It's a good chance to learn and change your life to better. And when you speak to them on that level, you gain their respect and say, you know, we all have choices that were, and how we look at life and how we suffered. So I'd kind of add to the job program thing and say, this is very important. How are you going to change your future? What are you going to do? And, you know, it became a situation where I look forward to going and trying to give them a different viewpoint that probably they've never heard. And I think all of us can do that as we live our lives, just by the point of view we live our life, and we don't know what effect we will have on others. But just maintaining, I think for me, more patience. I think I've noticed that the more patient I am, I receive information of what to say and how to act. But more wisdom is coming to me. Even sometimes I am being told this is going to happen in the next few seconds. And it's true. Something does happen. So I just wanted to say, yeah, this works. Keep at it. I meditate. I don't feel anything different, but you're right. It's a slow change, but it works.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for that.
Thank you again, Venerable Sanathavihari. Hope to see you in near future. Thank you again. Now we are going to chant some page 4 and some Pali chanting plus page 10. Next Sunday, Stephen Subodho is going to give a Dhamma talk. Thank you again for everybody. We're going to start chanting. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami. Bhagavan arahan samma sambuddho vijja charana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttar purisa dhamma sarati sattva deva manussana buddho bhagavati swakkato bhagavata dhammo sandit Tiko akaliko ehi passiko opanai paccatang veditabbo vinyuhiti supatipanno bhagavato savaka sanghonya Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sanghyaya patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho samici patit savaka sangho yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa punggala esa bhaga savaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkine anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyaketang lokassati Sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanu bhavena sada sotti bhavantu bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba dhammanu bhave sada sotti bhavantu te bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba de sabba sanghanu bhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. Deluding passions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief. Nindi du kong buk pokap unya di nyai dan du sung sange nyai kong tai pada Neng di du kong buk pokap unya di nyai dan du sung sange nyai kong tai pada Neng di du kong buk pokap unya di nyai dan du sung sange nyai kong tai pada Om Mani Padme Hum. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you again for everybody. Thank you for our members. Thank you all the monks being here with us today. And thank you, Asan. Hope to see you everybody next Sunday. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Thank you again. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.